Okay, so let me understand something. Okay, beginning of it. Okay, 7:37 Pacific Standard Time, PM. It's still the 15th of May, 2023. We were in Giant City, Roseman, California. Does that work? Okay, good. So, tell me, somebody, please, how is it that restricting education is going to be enlightening for the college students who are trying to get degrees out of Florida? If you're going to be limiting or altering history left and right, and limiting and altering the educational materials left and right, how is it that taking away black and Chicano studies, or even taking away Disney products, a way to help the students understand their world? Okay, me being a libtard, I'm sorry, a libturd in California, democratically controlled area so far, I'm supposed to be open minded and liberal about things. At times I can be conservative in my own damn behaviors. And when it comes down for fiscal stuff, you get limited money, you got to spend fiscally, you got to spend judiciously. You can't go hog wild unless you feel like you're going to be able to go hog wild. But that doesn't help me out with the educational system. See, I don't get it. If I've got a professor who's going to be limiting history in one way or another, that gives me one particular viewpoint of his, but I probably couldn't repeat the class just to get a higher grade. And what happens if I actually did pass the class of the altered history class and I wanted to take it again? Now, here in the college systems that we have, there is credit, no credit. We can't change the grade unless, of course, it's lower than C. Meaning if I flunked the damn thing, or actually if I had D in it, then I could change the grade, make it better. I may have a B grade. I can't change it for an A grade. Doesn't make sense because I already made above average, and that's good. C and above is good. C is average. I'm average. What I'm not average about is seeing other states limiting education and telling them this stuff didn't happen over here. It didn't happen. It's like, how can I say this? European conquerors came over to the New World with the manifest destiny going inside of them. Wanted to make a new place for themselves. In order to do that, we're seeing other people staying in places they shouldn't be because we're going to be taking over their territory. But we're doing this because we're doing it and we're righteous about it. We know we're right and God's with us and everything else is good. And therefore, they're dangerous, they're evil, they're different, and we must get rid of them. Looking at world history and also U.S. history and California history, trying to get the basis of what is and what isn't, and then trying to study a little bit about Native American history and their point of view on how the European invaders were acting. You kind of get a balance of what's going on these days. But unfortunately, if this was a DeSantis state in the mentality, and professors were finally forced by state government and the state governor would say, "Oh no, the Mexicans can come over here. We did. We conquered the land, and it was all ours. We never had the Mexican War. We never had anything regarding Mexico and Spain. They didn't come over here. In fact, we didn't have any Native Americans at all." That's a myth. Native Americans are a myth. Me being the Republican governor of the state of California at this point over here, following the examples of good old friend DeSantis in Florida and the other compatriots of the Trumplicans, I can tell every state employee in every district they will follow my guidelines. And I'm telling them, the state of California has been and always will be the sole state of everything. It doesn't have to follow the federal laws. It doesn't have to follow Native American rules and regulations. It doesn't have to mention about them at all. In fact, get rid of all the Native American posts and businesses that they have. And we're going to make it more better than that. We're going to put our advisors into every school and college district in every room. And they will be taught. They'll be taught not to be woke. Because we can't stand woke, even though we can't define the damn thing in the first place. But no. It is definable. We just haven't found it yet. But according to what I say, I, being the governor of the state of California, me being a Trumplican, I'm not Trumplican. I'm a red-blooded American. I'm a Republican in a republic. And I'm here to say that what they've learned all these days and all these years are lies. Okay? So I am telling you that there was no Star Trek, no Star Wars, no Hollywood, except what I will it. I'm the governor. This is California. I am Pharaoh. I am California. And therefore, I'm going to tell you that protecting our kids at this point over here, we got to lock them up. We're going to lock up every student we can and educate them the right way. Bring out the old reels. Force their eyes to be open all the time. Keep giving them Visine till they burn out. Crank up the volume so they can hear it. Aldous Huxley is dead. Long live me. 1984 was a picnic. So you will never be able to get your kids back in a liberal education. You'll never tell them that there was Mexicans here, the Spanish here. No, we Californians were here. We white European descended. We came over here to the Golden Land, and it supplied us with everything, including labor. And we took advantage of everything and anything because we are the Trumplicans. We're not Trumplicans, we're Republicans. Don't you understand it? And every news organization that exists in any form in this state of mind will not kowtow to anybody else but to me. This is my state. And I am declared king of the state of California. I am the grizzly. You are nothing. This is mine, not yours. There will be no colored of any kind here. Be gone! We set you out. Any of those people coming over here from other places, they cannot stay in the state of California because I, King Grizzly of California, declare it to be so. I am Pharaoh. I am California. There is no liberal. There's only woke everywhere else, and we will get rid of it. We will get rid of it in every other place. We will invade your homes. We'll try to obey the Constitution of the United States, but I seriously doubt that. No! If I'm going to hear of any history books hiding about any place, including schools, libraries, and private facilities that includes your home. I'm coming after them. We're going to have a bonfire. And everything that you've been taught, you will be retaught by my versions. I am the Grizzly of California. I declare it so. I'm a Republican. This is a California state. We like open minds, especially when we're cracking them open and seeing the brains explode. I'm sorry, exposed. I'm sorry. We're gonna have to do something about that, aren't we? Stop that screaming in the background over there! I'm doing this video! Oh, while you're just bleeding to death with the skull cracked open. Okay, well, that's fine with me. You were a libtard at one time? You were from a different political party? I see that. Well, I suppose we're going to have to take the body and we're going to have to dispose of the poor person here. Yeah. We're going to relocate you, or you're going to toss you out with the side of the border and let some other state deal with you. Oh, you're suffering through a lot of medical situations over here? I hate to say it, but the hospitals are closed down and the doctors are on strike. I'd be more than happy to scrounge up a Band-Aid for your bleeding skull and perforated body there. I can't help you with your mind. You're too contaminated with wokeism. Yeah, the grizzly strikes a band. Yeah, I like being a grizzly of California and telling people what to do. Yeah, because I've got the power, I've got the ego, I've got everything. I am the grizzly. I am California. I take after Yul Brynner in his movie, The 10 Commandments. He goes, I love that movie. Where he goes, I am Egypt. I am Californian. Republican. Red. Republican. I am Californian. I am the grizzly. And everybody will obey me because I say so. My own ego rules everything around here. I have been elected into this office over here, and nobody can take me out of here because I am putting up all the amendments into the state charter, and I'm rewriting the charter even as I speak. Hey, I love that one. And let's see what else. Oh yeah, all the. I did say something about the press. Now I'll have my own press corps here. I'm going to have my own I'm going to have my own press secretary to tell you folks that you will only listen to me because I am California. I am the grizzly. You know what scares me sometimes is when I start going into the character acting like that. Man, I really get into the damn characters like crazy. But what would scare me is being an over dramatized character of sorts. Reminds me of what's happening in reality, that they're just as worse as I am. I mean, having states to deny education in any and all forms, and telling them that you can only study this particular thing but not everything else. Telling people that they cannot study their own lineage, their own genetic history, their own family. They can't even study something that isn't of them. And here we go again, to us versus them again. It's the ego. It's always the damn ego. They just never bother to say the damn shit, but I'm saying it. It's always the frickin' ego. They don't want to recognize it. They don't want to say about it. They don't want to talk about it. Fine, I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it because I'll act the damn thing out. Acting like a damn maniac at this point over here. Why not? And yeah, I know I was talking about in the other video concerning about the depression at this point over here, but something pissed me off. I mean, it just snapped me right back into a little bit of a reality here. See, I don't like it when people keep telling me that I am limited and whatever kind of things I need to read. I'm like, screw you. I'm allowed. I can go for any kind of book that I want. Who the hell are you to tell me that this book is banned? Because you say so? Because you don't like the damn shit? Okay, how about if I don't like reading Playboy or Penthouse or Hustler? And I'm only reading it for the articles at this point over here, but I don't want to anymore. But I see the stuff out there in different forms, even online. Am I now encouraged to be one of those controlling assholes to tell you you can't have this damn thing? You can't see X-rated material. You can't go online to see the X-rated material. You can't even go into different shops anymore to see the X-rated material because it is woke. So it's bad enough going into a library and trying to pick up a history book, and they'll say, I'm sorry, that history book is being pulled. This is about the U.S. Constitution, about how the United States formed. No, I'm sorry, that's wrong information. Our writers, throughout the decades, throughout the generations, have written stuff about this. And they were terrified. They were terrified because they were seeing the images of how their culture was being, and they wrote it into characters and into stories left and right. Charles Dickens was one of those guys. Writing about Britain, writing about England in his time. He was fighting injustice in one way: literacy. How to show in front of people's faces, how to show social inequality. Or how about if you want to show the inner workings of the human psyche at work? Draw up something of Gothic. Mary Shelley. Bram Stoker. We're talking about political intrigue. Aldous Huxley. And Orwell. George Orwell. You want to talk about things happening in American, pre and post Civil War era. Mark Twain. Samuel Clemens. That particular book of Mark Twain's concerning about Huckleberry Finn. I hadn't read one about Tom Sawyer. I heard that Tom Sawyer never made an impact, but Huckleberry Finn did. I finally read it in my adulthood. I was not exposed to it. I should have been back in high school days or even junior high, but we never did do book reports like that. I was too much in scientific inquiries and not to mention engineering. I was still of science fiction and Star Trek, and even in those days that they talked about stuff like this. Back in the 60s, they actually had this kind of shit going on, too. Gene Roddenberry came from, let's see, World War II soldier, or Korean War soldier, to a LAPD officer, and a patrolman, I think, and wrote stories and wrote books and manuscripts. Basically manuscripts, and he got them. Star Trek was one of those social programs of science fiction that could slip right into your head, and you'd be able to see the damn shit right there. It's still relevant to these days. But do you think people would understand this crap? Hell no. I think it's too much woke liberalism. He was good at that. In different shows and different movies, they tried to show that, and Hollywood was pure woke, pure liberalism. How dare you? How dare you challenge it? You want to hear about the challenge of this one? What about the Judgment of Nuremberg film? Right after World War II, I think they were making that in the early 50s on that one. Richard Widmark was in it. And they were showing how the Nazi regime of all sorts was being put through trials. I think the last three of them. Former judge. There was a commandant. I don't know what the other schmuck was. But these guys made an impact. But it wasn't exactly the court scenes. You had to see how the German people treated and reacted to the Allies, including the Americans, who were there in Germany judging their leaders to be war criminals, which they were. But the German people didn't realize it as such. At least some of them anyway. They just turned a blind eye to it. And they showed it in one particular character of a woman offering her dead husband's house to the visiting judge. And this made a difference because he was being educated by a woman who survived the atrocities, and she wasn't praising the Americans. She was basically wanting the Americans to get the hell out of Germany. You talk about hard and harsh on that one? With a reality check? What the German people had allowed to happen under their watch? How their whole culture changed again and again, allowing nut jobs to rule the day and kill people left and right? But it actually happened. It was basically like a dramatic movie using elements of reality and history and showing people what the hell happened. Showing the devastations. And explaining to people and explaining the situations how and why things happened. It got to the point where even a German prosecutor, actually the German defendant, the defense attorney actually, was so damn ticked off at everybody because of what happened. But he was the one who had to defend everybody. He was the one who had to defend everybody that was on trial. And he hated it too. So you talk about the racism there. How about In the Heat of the Night? Ron Steiger, Sidney Poitier. That was a heavy movie. That in itself was a heavy movie. And it was dealing with the racism. It was a dramatized version of the shit that people had actually experienced back then and today. Because I don't know about the cotton fields these days. But the attitudes are still there and still happening. So now we got to deal with that stuff. And that's hard as hell to deal with. Because we have it still constantly. And at the end of the day, on this film, I mean, Poitier's character came down to take care of some family members out in Sparta, Mississippi. There's no such thing as Sparta, Mississippi, but there was a Sparta, I think either in Alabama or in another state, but in the Gulf. But they called it Mississippi during that, in the movie. And it was the most racist time. And he's coming back after taking care of family members. There had been a murder in town, and he's the only black guy out at a train station waiting for the next train in several hours. And he was going to wait there all day, or actually all night for it. The next thing he knows, he gets embroiled in a murder situation where he has to use his skills as a detective out in Philadelphia to help solve this situation for the people of Sparta. And the ones he was trying to get information out of and helping people out didn't exactly like him very much. But the people of his color wondered how come he was there in the first place. Why'd he got dragged into this situation? He kept asking himself that same question too. And he had to have a hell of a relationship formed at the end regarding the police chief, played by Steiger. And Steiger didn't like him much either. I mean, for real, they liked each other. For real, I heard that they were really they were friends. They respected the living crap out of each other. But the characters had to grow into that, where at the end, that Steiger was appreciative of everything that the detective had brought in. All the help and all the stuff he had to endure. I could just see it. It was being projected. It wasn't mentioned, but it was there. And Gillespie said so long to Tibbs. Probably didn't expect him back. If they had made another movie of that one, maybe a few years after that, it would have been something to see that. No, what we saw back in the 80s was a watered-down version of the damn film, but turned into a television series for several seasons in the heat of the night, where there wasn't that much racism. It was in a modern time. But that's what we're seeing these days, is the racism happening these days back in the 60s. And this is the kind of thing that people kept telling us to be. Looking for the good old days back in the 60s? Are you kidding me? Please tell me you're kidding me. So this just, it crawls under my skin on this one. We have to not look at people in just one particular color filter. We have to look at them in everything. You just can't look at something in just one light. You have to look at it in the white light. And the white light is usually broken down into many spectrums. Combined all the spectrums, you still get the single source of white light, which is a reality, which is a truth. But their own versions of truth is being colored left and right. And that's what DeSantis and everybody else who keeps following their logic this way, is it only takes one particular spectrum. It doesn't take everything. In college out here in California, or the past several years, or shall I say, in the last several years, I have been taking classes of different sorts to get a flavor, get a feel. Like I should have done that a long time ago, but I didn't have the perspective, I didn't have the context. I sure as hell didn't have the maturity to understand it much, or to appreciate. These days, I've gone through a hell of a lot, experienced a lot, seen a lot, and been pissed off a lot. So when I look at history, and it doesn't matter which particular form of history here, I'm looking at recorded information, passed down, that's been verified many times, and updated many times, because there's new stuff coming in to add more flavor to the story, or maybe corrections and revisions in it somehow. But not just whitewashing the damn thing and said you're not going to learn this stuff. You learn one thing over here. I can't do that. No. I'm not doing that authoritative bullshit here. And that's what it is bullshit. If I was a college student out in Florida, I'd be getting the hell out of Florida. Seriously, I'd get the hell out of Florida. I'd go to another state that would have better educational opportunities. Because if DeSantis is going to continue to solidify this damn shit, Florida, you're sunk. Okay? Might as well have a hurricane blast you guys out of proportion. That includes Disney as well, and the cruising industry, and every other amusement park, and every other kind of industry that you got over there. Just whitewash you guys. Because apparently you guys ain't fighting hard enough to keep diversity in your state. You're not doing a damn shit. You're becoming an OK Corral out there. It's either whitewashing in blood, or else we're going to have a hurricane blast the entire state out of it, or just flood you guys. We'll have to deal with the alligators, or actually the crocodiles and the snakes and the moccasins and God knows what else you got out there. We'll have to deal with that as well. Yeah, but this is coming from a libtard in a libtard state of California, who still has to listen to people bullshitting their way in different parts of California saying that, oh, we wish we could have been like Florida. We need to section ourselves off. We need to do this to California. Last point to make in this rant of mine. There had been, last several years, attempts to separate California into different chunks because they like their own way of thinking. They want it their own way. They don't want differences of opinions. They don't want challenges. They don't want diversity. They sure as hell don't want to learn diversity. It scares the hell out of them. I think it would scare the living crap out of them if they actually went over to a Native American museum, if we actually had one, or a library. It would scare the hell out of them because they'd be learning a different form of history. Someone else's point of view on what the European invaders were like. How's that grab you? I wish we had classes out here for Native American history. I'd love to take them. Now, me, I was a voracious reader when I was growing up as a kid. I also read a newspaper like crazy, trying to understand what the hell was going on in my world. And some of the other authors, what they were trying to talk about. And I talked about it with a few classmates, but also teachers as well, when I actually had my head in the game. And these days, I've been trying to talk to a few professors what's going on these days. I value diversity. Even though sometimes it's hard for me to get past my own damn indifferences inside and my own preconceptions and the past encounters I've had that would flavor me and looking at people in one particular light. But you know what happens? A spark of human decency. A spark of human decency of someone coming around and say, how you doing? I'll say back to them, how you doing? Enjoying the weather these days? I'm like, I've had a pleasant conversation with someone. And that made me keep thinking. I may see other examples of human slobs over here and people not giving a damn. But every once in a while, I'll run into someone who can actually change my mind. That's worth it. That's really worth it. I said too damn much.